The midday sun blazed over the massive theme park, making the air thick with the scent of buttery popcorn, sizzling pretzels, and the faint hint of chlorine from a nearby water ride. Laughter and excited chatter filled the air as families and groups of friends eagerly moved between attractions, their faces lit with anticipation. Among them stood Alex, shifting from foot to foot in the long but steadily moving line for Titan's Wrath, the park's most thrilling roller coaster. It was a ride worth waiting for. Towering steel tracks looped and twisted above, cars full of screaming riders plummeting down a near-vertical drop before corkscrewing into the sky. Even from this distance, Alex could hear the excited shrieks followed by bursts of relieved laughter. The line stretched far, but that was part of the experience, bonding with fellow thrill-seekers, swapping stories, and sharing the mounting anticipation. A sudden, grating voice cut through the air. "Excuse me." "Excuse me." Coming through. Heads turned as a woman in oversized sunglasses and a leopard print blouse pushed her way forward, dragging a teenage boy behind her. The boy, lanky and visibly uncomfortable, kept his head down as his mother bulldozed ahead. Karen. Alex didn't know her name yet, but she knew the type. People exchanged confused looks, some murmuring in irritation but reluctant to say anything. After all, who wanted to be the person to start a confrontation at a theme park? Father, standing near Alex, frowned and spoke up. "Hey, the line starts back there." Karen barely spared him a glance. "Oh, don't be ridiculous. We don't have all day." She marched forward another few feet, cutting in front of a group of teenage girls who immediately started whispering. The boy, Karen's son, tried to slow her down, muttering, "Mom, let's just go back." She shot him a sharp look. "No, we're not waiting in this ridiculous line like peasants. You want to spend all day standing around?" The air grew heavier. This was blatant. Not a misunderstanding, not a mistake. Karen was consciously pushing ahead, shoving through as if the rules simply didn't apply to her. Alex took a deep breath. The park had rules for a reason. If Karen got away with this, it set a bad precedent. More importantly, it was wrong. "Hey," Alex said, voice firm but calm. "We're all waiting here just like you. You can't just cut in front of everyone." Karen stopped mid-step and turned, slowly lowering her sunglasses to look at Alex as if noticing them for the first time. A smirk curled at the edge of her lips, her expression dripping with condescension. "Oh, sweetheart." She cooed. "I'm not cutting. I just don't have time to stand around all day like you people. Some of us have things to do." Alex clenched their jaw. "So does everyone else here." Karen laughed. Actually laughed. It was the kind of laugh someone gives when they're completely certain they hold all the power in a situation. "Listen," she said, tilting her head. "I paid a fortune to bring my son here today. I am not about to waste our time in some ridiculous cattle line. We're just skipping ahead a little. No big deal." The murmur of discontent was growing. Other people in line were pulling out their phones, recording. A park employee stationed near the entrance glanced over, noticing the disruption. A teenager near the front of the line called out, "Yo, lady, you are cutting. Get in the back like everyone else." Karen's smirk vanished in an instant. She turned sharply. "Excuse me." The energy in the line shifted. People who had been silent a moment ago were now paying very close attention. Before she could say anything else, a park employee, tall, dressed in a crisp uniform, official-looking, stepped forward. "Ma'am, is there a problem?" Karen lit up, immediately adopting a tone of fake outrage. "Yes, there absolutely is. These people," she waved dramatically at the crowd, "are harassing me for trying to enjoy my day with my son. The employee's expression remained neutral. "Are you trying to skip the line?" Karen gasped, clutching her chest like the very accusation had wounded her. "What? No, I was just—" "She was cutting," Alex interrupted, voice steady. "She walked straight past dozens of people. We all saw it." Karen's son visibly shrank, looking anywhere but at the confrontation. The employee sighed, clearly not unfamiliar with this kind of situation. "Ma'am, park policy is very clear. Everyone waits their turn. If you continue cutting, we'll have to ask you to leave the attraction." Karen's face flushed red. "That's ridiculous. You're welcome to return to the end of the line," the employee continued, voice polite but firm. "Or leave the ride area. Your choice." For a moment, Karen looked genuinely stunned, like she had never been told no in her entire life. Her son muttered, "Mom, let's just go." But Karen wasn't backing down. She exhaled sharply, through her nose, forcing a tight smile. "Fine," she said, voice sugary sweet. "I'll wait." For now. A tense pause. Then she turned on her heel and stalked back toward the middle of the line, pulling her reluctant son behind her. Alex watched her retreat, feeling a flicker of satisfaction. But something in Karen's expression, a glint of defiance, made their stomach tighten. This wasn't over. As the ride roared overhead, sending another batch of thrilled riders through its loops and drops, Alex had the uneasy feeling that Karen was already planning her next move. The line inched forward, and for a brief moment it seemed like Karen had accepted her place. She stood a few rows back now, arms crossed tightly, foot tapping against the pavement in impatient bursts. Her son kept his head low, clearly wishing he could vanish into the crowd. Alex tried to shake off the lingering tension, but something about Karen's demeanor didn't sit right. She wasn't the type to let things go. Her arrogance practically radiated off her. The way she was muttering under her breath, shooting sharp glances toward the front of the line, made it clear that she was not done stirring trouble, and then she made her move. With practiced ease, Karen slipped to the side, stepping out of line like she was merely adjusting her shoe. Then, in a casual, almost lazy stroll, she veered toward the disability access entrance. Alex's stomach twisted. The fast access lane was strictly for those with mobility impairments or conditions preventing them from standing in long lines. It was a necessary HOA system built to make sure everyone could enjoy the park. But you abusers, like Karen, they ruined it for people who actually needed it. Karen approached a young employee stationed at the entrance, instantly flipping from hostile to pitiful. "Oh my goodness," she sighed, pressing a hand dramatically to her forehead. "I just can't stand in that line another second. My back is absolutely killing me." The employee, a teenager barely out of high school, hesitated. "Do you have a disability pass, ma'am?" Karen gasped. Offended. "You think I carry my medical records with me? My condition is private." The teen glanced toward the main line, suddenly aware of the growing eyes on the situation. Karen saw the hesitation and pounced. "My son and I just want to enjoy one ride without me collapsing. I mean, honestly, do I have to explain my entire medical history just to sit down?" The employee faltered. He clearly wasn't trained to handle aggressive entitlement. Karen knew it, and just like that, she was let through. A surge of anger flared in Alex's chest. They weren't the only one who noticed. Several others in line exchanged outraged glances. A woman near Alex shook her head, muttering, "Unbelievable." Karen strutted past the barriers, grinning. Her son, still visibly uncomfortable, followed without a word. Alex clenched their fists. This wasn't just about a roller coaster team anymore. It was the principal. One of the other guests, a guy in his 20s with a backwards cap, scowled. "Are we really going to let her get away with that?" Alex exhaled sharply. No, they weren't. Without hesitation, they strode toward the employee at the disability entrance, speaking just loud enough for those nearby to hear. "Hey, I just want to let you know. That woman isn't disabled. She was in our line 2 minutes ago and just got tired of waiting." The employee's expression froze. The guy with the cap nodded. "Yeah, she straight up cut in front of all of us, then pretended she was injured." The teenager looked overwhelmed, eyes darting, toward the ride's security station. He knew he'd been played. I can't just pull her out now," he stammered. "She's already in the queue." Alex took a deep breath. "That's fine, but I highly suggest Vicky, you report her to security. I guarantee this isn't the first time she's pulled something like this." More murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. People weren't just annoyed anymore. They were furious. The employee hesitated, then grabbed his radio. Alex turned back toward the ride. Karen was already at the front of the fast access lane, looking smug as she waited for her turn, but she had made a mistake. Big you won. She thought she had gotten away with it. She had no idea she was being watched. Security officers near the main entrance had been alerted, and now they were watching her closely. Karen, oblivious, kept up her charade. She stretched dramatically, rolling her shoulders like she was in agony. She even winced theatrically as she lowered herself into the ride car, but she couldn't help herself. She was a bragger. As the ride attendant secured her harness, she let out a laugh, glancing at her son. "See? I told you it's all about confidence. These people are so easy to trick." Her voice wasn't loud, but it didn't need to be, because someone hooker was recording. The teenage girl seated behind her in the ride car had her EOD phone out, camera rolling. And just like that, Karen had sealed her own fate. The moment the ride took off, Alex exchanged a glance with the people nearby. The energy had shifted. It wasn't frustration anymore. It was the thrilling anticipation of watching justice unfold. Karen thought she had won. She had no idea she had just handed them the evidence they needed to take her down. The roar of the coaster swallowed everything as Karen's car shot up the first hill, climbing higher and higher, suspended in the air before the inevitable stomach-dropping plunge. For most riders, this was the moment of pure exhilaration, the slow anticipation before the rush of adrenaline. But for those still waiting in line, watching from below, something far more satisfying was unfolding. The security team had arrived. 2 uniformed park officials stood near the fast access lane, their eyes locked on the ride's exit platform. One had a radio in hand, murmuring into it while the other surveyed the queue. The teenager at the entrance looked nervous, but when he spotted Alex, he gave a slight nod. He'd reported everything. Alex felt a rush of vindication. Karen had played her hand too boldly. She thought she was untouchable. But her mistake had been underestimating the power of witnesses. The guy in the backwards cap, who had spoken up earlier, grinned. "Oh, this is gonna be good." More people in line were catching on. A ripple of quiet excitement spread through the crowd as murmurs circulated. Phones appeared. People weren't just waiting for their ride anymore. They were waiting for the reckoning. The coaster screeched as it came barreling into the final stretch, twisting through a series of loops before slowing at the brake zone. The riders, still high on adrenaline, laughed and cheered, except for one. Karen adjusted her sunglasses, completely unaware that her triumphant moment was about to implode. She stepped off the ride, flipping her hair over her shoulder as if she had just cheated the system flawlessly. Her son, looking more miserable than ever, muttered something under his breath, but she was too busy relishing her victory to hear it. Then she saw them. The security team stood at the exit, arms crossed, waiting. Karen faltered for just a fraction of a second, her polished confidence cracking, but she recovered quickly, flashing them her signature entitled a smirk. "Oh, hello there," she said smoothly, adjusting her purse strap. "Can I help you with something?" The lead security officer, a no-nonsense woman with mirrored sunglasses and a stance that radiated authority, didn't blink. "Ma'am, we need to have a word with you." Karen's smile froze, her eyes darted around, calculating. She knew she was in trouble, but, like any good manipulator, she went straight to denial. "Oh, is something wrong? I was just enjoying a ride with my son." The officer's expression remained unreadable. "We've received reports that you skipped the line by abusing the disability access system." Karen's laugh was almost convincing, if it weren't for the tightness in her jaw. "What? That's absurd. Who would say such a thing?" Alex took a single step forward. "Everyone here." Karen's head snapped around, her eyes locking onto Alex's like a predator spotting an inconvenient witness. Before she could protest, the teenage girl who had been sitting behind her on the ride lifted her phone. "Got the whole thing on video," she said, voice casual but lethal. Karen's face drained of color, a beat of silence. Then, "Let me see that," the girl laughed. "No chance. But don't worry, I'll be tagging the park's official account when I post it." Karen's hands curled into fists. Her son was now openly staring at the ground, refusing to meet her gaze. The security officer didn't need the video to act. She had seen enough. "Ma'am, we have a strict policy against line cutting. Since you deliberately misused the disability access system, I'm afraid we'll have to escort you out of the park." Karen's eyes went wide. "What? No, absolutely not. You can't do that. I paid for my tickets. I have every right to be here." The second officer, a tall man with an imposing build, stepped forward. His presence alone silenced any further argument. "This is a private establishment," he said flatly. "You broke the rules. Now you leave." Karen's chest rose and fell rapidly, her mind scrambling for a way out. She looked to her son, as if expecting him to defend her. But he didn't. Instead, for the first time that day, he spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. "Mom, just stop." The words hit hard. Karen turned to him, stunned. "Excuse me?" Her son swallowed, still staring at the pavement, but his voice was firmer now. "You do this all the time, and I'm sick of it." A heavy silence followed. Karen's entire body went rigid. It was the first time all day that she looked genuinely shaken. The weight of the watching crowd pressed down on her. She could feel the judgment, the disdain, the eyes of dozens of people who had seen her true self laid bare. For the first time, Karen had nowhere to run. Her lips parted, but no excuse came. The lead officer gave her a choice. "You can leave quietly, or we call security to escort you out formally. Your decision." Karen inhaled sharply. Then, with an exaggerated scoff, she snatched her sunglasses off her head and shoved them onto her face. "Fine," she snapped. "But this place is a joke. I'll be leaving a scathing review about this disgusting treatment." The security officers didn't flinch. They simply turned, motioning for her to walk. Karen stormed past the crowd, her steps stiff with humiliation. Her son followed, though he kept a distance, hands shoved into his hoodie pockets, looking more relieved than anything. As they disappeared through the exit, the tension broke. A wave of quiet cheers spread through the line. People exchanged grins, shaking their heads. Justice had been served, and it had been delicious. Alex exhaled, finally allowing a small smile to creep onto their face. That, the guy with the backwards cap said, was better than the actual ride. And honestly, he wasn't wrong. As Karen disappeared through the exit, escorted by security, the energy in the air shifted. The tension, once a vice grip on the crowd, loosened. People turned back to their places in line, shaking their heads, murmuring with satisfaction. The moment had already begun to transform into a story, one that would be retold, laughed about, and posted online before the day was over. Alex let out a slow breath. The weight of injustice which had pressed so hard on their chest earlier had finally lifted. But as they turned back toward the ride queue, something caught their eye. Karen's son. He hadn't left with his mother. He stood a few feet away, still near the exit gate, staring at the pavement. His hands were buried in the pocket of his hoodie, shoulders hunched like he was shrinking into himself. Alex hesitated. They hadn't considered him much before, just another extension of his mother's entitlement. But now, with her gone, he looked different, smaller, alone. The teenage girl with the recording noticed, too. She nudged Alex. "You think he's waiting for her to come back?" Alex shook their head. "I think he doesn't want to go with her at all." The girl frowned, her earlier amusement dimming. "Should we say something?" Before Alex could answer, the boy moved. Not toward the exit, but toward them. It was hesitant, like he wasn't sure he was allowed. His gaze flickered up, meeting Alex's just for a moment before dropping again. "Hey," he muttered. His voice was quiet but firm. Thanks." Alex blinked. That was unexpected. "For what?" they asked. The boy shifted his weight. "For saying something. For not letting her get away with it." His lips pressed together in a thin line. "She always does stuff like that, and people just let her." There was something else beneath his words. A frustration, years in the making. Alex studied him, the way his fingers fidgeted in his hoodie pocket, the way his jaw clenched like he was holding something back. The girl with the recording softened. "That can't be easy to deal with." The boy let out a dry, humorless chuckle. "Yeah, no kidding." A silence stretched between them, filled with the distant whir of roller coasters and the excited chatter of park guests. Finally, Alex nodded, toward the queue. "You still want to ride?" The boy's eyes flickered with surprise. What?" "I mean, you waited too," Alex said, shrugging. "Doesn't seem fair that you don't get to ride just because she pulled her usual nonsense." The boy hesitated. He looked toward the exit, as if expecting his mother to reappear, to drag him away. But she didn't. She was gone. For the first time all day, he had a choice, and he took it. "Yeah," he said, straightening. "Yeah, I do." A grin spread across the girl's face. "Well, let's go then. But fair warning, I scream like, a dying goat on roller coasters." The boy actually laughed. It wasn't much, just a small fleeting chuckle, but it was real. And as they stepped forward together, sliding back into the queue, Alex knew one thing for certain. Some people get what's coming to them, but others just need a chance to escape it.